Hi, this is Lori Lazier from To the Trade for Interior Design Community, and I have with me Niall Johnson. Hi, Niall.
Hi.
How are you doing this week?
It's been a week, but I'm good.
That's good. And we have our special guest, Irene Williams. Irene and I have known each other since I feel like very beginning because you were part of the Twitter chats when I was doing those Twitter
Oh,
chats
yes.
with all those people that sort of sort of instigated me starting interior design community. So you've been with me day one, and used to be a PR representative for a lot of different brands. And you've transitioned into something that I think that interior designers would absolutely love to talk about, and that is digital declutter. We all
Right.
get like super overwhelmed when we think of our email lists and our emails and how many different emails we have in our inbox and spam and client. And like, you don't want to miss an important email, but it happens, I'm sure, to all of us. Tell us about why. First of all, tell us a little bit about you, and then we're going to go into why you're doing this. So tell us about you first.
Built a career. My core skill is writing, and that led to public relations and all that good stuff. And when the era of social media kicked in, I jumped in quickly. I've worked from home since the year 2000. So I feel like I'm a pioneer when it comes to working from home. So I was very attuned to technology and very receptive for how it would guide my professional opportunities. But you might not be surprised that once my business was successful, I had a digital PR social media management agency, and it grew quickly, and I did not have systems in place. I got overwhelmed. I got very digitally cluttered. And I live in a world where you can't just hit delete on all your emails in the inbox and go to inbox zero immediately. I was managing like 75% of my income was social media management for clients. So I couldn't take a detox or shut everything down. It was very important that I learned to use all my digital social mobile tools in a healthy way. And long story short, I did get to a point of complete overwhelm where I was like, this is make or break. Like, I was really dreading getting to my inbox every day. I would divert over to social media to buffer the pain of email, which is a horrible use of my time. I was pinged by notifications nonstop. It was really affecting my ability to concentrate. So I inadvertently developed a system that helped me declutter the inboxes, multiple inboxes, wrangle that social media use so that I do it on my own terms, learn how to use my device as a tool of good and not overwhelm. And about a year after really concertedly doing that, I realized I had never become cluttered again. I was using my social media very much on my terms. My business was thriving in a new way because once I got organized, I was able to delegate to my team more quickly. I had time to think. And I
Wow.
realized I was onto something. I really did save. It may sound melodramatic, but it changed my life. And I got back around 3 hours of my day that I didn't even realize I was losing to the deluge of digital. And many years later, I am on a completely different career path. I'm a coach for executives and entrepreneurs, and I have a business called the Digital Life Academy that teaches how to manage digital social mobile tools, typically for professionals. I can teach individuals too, but most people who are motivated to really do something are in business and need to use all the tools professionally. I have had a really cool, beautiful journey, and it started simply by getting my digital life in order, which is fascinating.
I think that so many of us have struggled with that same thing. Niall, when we first met, you were like, don't email me. It's
Yeah, and
going to
that's
get
still the
lost.
rule. And that's still the rule. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it's everyone that I think has been struggling with this, and especially because you just keep on adding emails when you do something new, or so sometimes you're managing one email and then it goes to managing 6 different emails,
Yes,
and it becomes overwhelming because every single
absolutely.
email has its own way of getting rid of the spam or figuring out which emails are important. And so that you even this podcast, we sent you a Zoom and it went into your spam.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And obviously, probably standard operating procedure is check your spam folder at least once a day because important stuff does land there. But I can't begin to tell you how many times when I was cluttered, I didn't have presence of mind to do that on a regular basis. And people would be like, knock, knock, where are you? And I'm
Right.
like, oh, not only may you be in the archaeological dig that was my inbox, but maybe you're in spam as well. And I think one thing I'll say out of the gate is people know they have this issue, but we laugh it off and we don't always realize how oppressive it really is. I rarely meet someone who says, oh, yeah, no problem with my email inboxes. It feels like a fairly blanket universal issue that nobody is awake and dealing with in an active, lasting way. And that's
Right.
what I
Yeah.
try and bring to light is I realize we have 17,000 other things to do, and your inbox disorganization may not be top on that list. But if you could spare the time to do it and do it right, you regain hours to your day where it becomes a non-issue. And you don't even realize all that precious time and mental energy, frankly, that was literally getting burned by the burden of your inboxes or whatever your digital, social, mobile clutter may be. We all know we have the issue, but we're not necessarily awake to the fact that we actually need to resolve it.
So what are the steps? What do you do when, if you're starting to think about this, you recognize, and I think this is really important for anyone who is, particularly when your business is next leveling, you're getting more business, or you're considering bringing on a team. I would think that is an imperative time to start really thinking about processes and systems within your digital life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As I briefly shared, when I launched my business, it grew quickly and I wasn't present in the moment to know I needed a system in place. So hello, anyone partaking of this conversation, wake up and make this your cue to desire and create a system that works for you because it will make your life so much better on the flip side. So it happened quickly. The clutter was already there. And then when business started growing and I started up leveling what I was doing, it just kept thickening. And I will mention something that we haven't said out loud because we've been mostly addressing the inbox, but for this industry, I know it's incredibly relevant. Phone photos. One of the first steps I took in getting
Oof.
my life back, and I say life in general because it wasn't just my digital life, was getting the 20,000 photos off my phone and
Right.
organized in a way that I could make use of them. Because I'll tell you, most of those 20,000 were relevant to my business. Again, I was doing social media management for clients and I attended trade show after trade show all year long and was just inundated with phone photos that I needed. And like in the course of a day, I would need to post something or send to someone to post on my behalf. And it was digging, it was scrolling, it was not. That was an early step I took. And very honestly, when I teach this, a lot of people want to know the quick tips and tricks. And the very realistic and I hope not too harsh reality is you have to do the work to get to the point of being decluttered. But the way I teach it is a calming up, not a calming down process. So we're elevating how you think about your approach to digital, social, mobile so that you're establishing replicable processes as you're decluttering. You're not overwhelming yourself with the process. You're learning about how your brain works and why the stuff is overwhelming. And you're creating a system that actually brings comfort and not painful disruption, which sounds fancy maybe, but I think we can all relate to the coat closet in our houses gets really cluttered. And then it's an exhausting thought of how to clean that up. You do not have to do everything in one fell swoop. You can do it as you're going and without moralizing or thinking there's a character flaw about yourself. This is a very common thing. Your brain is truly at a point of overload. No harm, no foul. It's going to happen to all the humans in modern world. So we can wrangle it in a way that's peaceful and long-term and lasting.
I will tell you a trick that I did do myself, and that is for my photos, because as for interior design community people, I do a lot of memes. I make all those memes and I make all those graphics that you see on the Instagram. And so all of that is on my phone along with a million that you don't see because they're really bad. And so I use months. So if I have an iPhone, so I go in and I'll go January. Whenever I try to do this once a month and I will pick the month, the previous month, and I will just go through and delete anything that I don't need anymore. That's the
Right.
main thing that I'm trying to do. And then, or anything that I want to archive into a Google Drive. I want to keep it, but I don't really want to use it again. A lot of the memes and the graphics, I just delete them because I make new ones every day anyway. So they're
Yes.
just gone. After I've
Yes.
posted it, it's over. I don't want to repost that again. So
Let it go.
let
You
it
can
go.
How do you
screenshot it off the internet if you need it.
Yes.
how do you reconcile that if you have the anxiety of the clutter or you don't want it around, but then you have analysis paralysis around letting things go? How do you, because I think that's my issue. Like
Yes.
it makes me anxious. Stuff really does make me anxious, but then letting it go, I'm like, ooh, but if I get rid of this, am I going to need it? That was really good. I should probably hold on to that for reference. Ooh, I didn't use that. This client hated this, but this is
Yes.
a really good palette. I should probably stack this somewhere because maybe it'll be like a quick fix for someone down the line. It's so bad. But then I look at all of it stacked up and I'm like, it's making me anxious. And I cannot reconcile like which way is the better way to go.
So I'll say, grant yourself some compassion.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
don't fret that you feel anxious. Don't add to your anxiousness by feeling like I shouldn't feel anxious. We get
That's
it.
good.
And the things you've created and the ideas you've compiled are valuable and can be very helpful to you. So the beauty of digital is you don't have to hit delete on everything. It's not like physical stuff that at some point you literally are going to max out unless you like 20,000 phone photos. I was constantly getting the notification that I was maxing out my memory on my phone, that kind of thing. And so that's why I keep no more than like 35 phone photos at any given time on my phone. S- Let me just say,
That's great.
I know. So the
Wow.
way I'll describe this, and this may sound so unattainable, but I promise you it is. If I can do it, you can. I basically created a system. I am an iPhone user, but I'm branded and tech agnostic. Whatever you use, this concept will apply. I'm not using iCloud because there are syncing issues and that's exhausting. So I choose my cloud service. I default to Dropbox. I know a lot of folks like Google Drive. Again, there's no right or wrong answer with this. It's what works for you and is your preference. So I do personally Dropbox, and they have a decent mobile app. So I, over time, moved all my phone photos over to Dropbox. They are organized there, but I didn't minutia organize that. They're broadly organized. So for you mentioned a beautiful palette that a client declined. So maybe you create a cloud folder in whatever service you prefer that's past palette ideas and just bop it over there in the moment. If you have 20 of those on your phone, you can select all and move those pretty simply over to your cloud service and get them off of there. But because you have a mobile app that makes them accessible on the go, you would be able to find that on the go. I really simplified my life when I started doing this back in the day. I would have like sales reps for one of my clients reach out and they needed room scene photography because they were about to go into a sales meeting. And because I had it from off of my phone and into the cloud, I could be at lunch with my husband and very discreetly get them the link to whatever photo they needed. And I was done with it within like a minute and a half, and they had what they needed. So again, this sounds lofty perhaps and something in the distant future, but if you're doing this as you are going and keeping the organization concept simple, I promise you can do it. So I don't ever tell anyone to hit delete on stuff that they think could be of value to them. I just want you to know there are simple ways to get it contained and make it accessible to you when you need it. Obviously, there's details underneath that we may not be able to get to in this conversation, but it can be done. So just Feel the feelings, but then let them go because the solution exists for you on the other side of that anxiousness.
That's good.
That is really good. That is really good.
35 photos. Oh my
I know.
gosh.
I can't
That's
imagine
amazing.
35 either.
I
I'm
know.
going to say that.
I'm so far. I'm like, I don't even want to say what my number is. I'm
Oh, yeah.
very far from that. Like
Yeah, when I
extreme.
first started teaching this, I did a beta group, and I had everyone do screenshots of on your phone. You'll see the email icon and the number of how many unread email messages. And so I
Oh
just
my
had
God.
people
Yeah.
send me screenshots and to do that with their phone photos too. And it became an odd competition. Just who had the most, tens of thousands of unread messages,
Oh my
tens of
God.
thousands of phone photos. And again, it's humorous, but it's also what that's doing to your brain. When
Mm.
you see those numbers, it's taxing. Your brain is your most metabolically expensive organ in your body. It takes about 20 to 25% of your caloric energy in any given day. So when you add to your mental burden, that's actually draining your energy. It's like biological. So you want to find ways to lighten your load digitally and in life in general.
That is so true. And
That is, yeah.
I don't think that we think about that way, but absolutely. I'm one of those people. If I see a number, like if there's like a red, in fact, I took off all the notifications early on with social
Mhm.
media because if there was a number next to it, I would have to check it. Like I just couldn't not.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
I have to
that's
stop myself from those, like caring about those things even now. Like it really bothers me if there's something unanswered or something unread.
correct. And that's it. That's a lot of times you hear people talk about the developers of social media and they villainize those social platforms because they have the algorithms and they know how to hook us. And they do. But we have the capacity to not respond when they try and ping us and ding us with all their notifications. First of all, 101 is turn off notifications on your phone. Be incredibly selective about what you let ping you at any given time. Because if you're in the flow and you get disrupted, on average, it takes 23 minutes to get back into flow. So you're going along, you're working beautifully, you get some Instagram notification that you didn't need in the first place, and then you've lost your flow and you've got the better part of 30 minutes just to get back in the game. It's not worth it. So
Oh,
turn off those notifications. And even the cool thing is when you get organized, those visual notifications that show up on those icons on your phone, they will become less of an issue, if not a non-issue. Like that for me, it's not burdensome because I have a system to stay in front of it. But you don't want to game yourself and remove notifications, even though the clutter still exists. That's putting a Band-Aid over a gaping wound. While I'm suggesting you turn off notifications, at the end of the day, we want to get to the root of the problem, where you're the source of your clutter, digitally, socially, mobily. But yes, but out of the gate, turn off those notifications.
Yes.
They are not helping you. And you're training your brain to actively go at a time that works for you to see what updates you have and those kinds of things. We are not ignoring those, but we need to go to them on our own terms, not when the device pings us. We don't want to be at the whim of those notifications.
I love that. And I also, when we were talking earlier before when we scheduled this, we talked a lot about really also like time blocking your day too, so that you aren't like getting up first thing in the morning before you've done anything and check your social media. Get up, go for the walk before, have breakfast, have that slow, quiet morning that isn't full of the digital noise before you go right at it. Is that great still advice you'd say for sure?
Yes. And that goes back to some brain biology. You actually prime your brain to focus when you don't start your day with what's happening on your social apps and in your email. And that doesn't have to be some very regimented process, but I think it's reasonable to presume many people do wake up and grab their phone immediately. And because it's become an automated action, they start checking everything right away. If you can retrain your brain to not do that, and that delay could be 30 minutes, it could be 2 hours. It just doesn't even matter. But if you're not starting your day with the mishmash of, I keep holding up the phone because that's where most of us do these kinds of things, you're not priming your brain to be distracted. You're awakening and starting your day in a point of focus that you by your own volition chose. Because you start looking at this stuff and it will hijack how your brain works. So
I think that is so true too. And I have stopped doing that for myself and get up, go for the walk, go have breakfast. And I made that switch about 2 years ago. And it's been a big game changer for me. I can think creatively when I'm walking too. So I will think about, what my day is going to be, what the things are that I'm going to do are. I can really be a little bit more creative in like what really plan out a little bit of what my day is going to look like. And really just, I walk with my husband and we'll chit chat about what I have on the agenda, what he has on the agenda, how we are going to handle it, that kind of thing. It's just, the kids, what's going on with them. We could complain.
Niall mentioned the word anxiety, and it's not a news headline for me to mention that our society right now is swimming in anxiety at levels rarely seen, if not ever, never seen before. And I would contend a part of that is the disruption of our technology. Our brains are made to get into that kind of creative flow that you just described. And the people watching this, you are in a creative industry and you need to give your brain that beautiful space where kind of your executive functioning goes offline. So you're not planning and thinking and self-analyzing. You're just letting ideas come. And I'm sure everyone out there, these talented designers, know what it's like to get into that beautiful flow. And so just leaving margin in your day to allow for that, for you to be your most professionally creative self, is vital. It's so vital. And I think that's an origin of the anxiety, is we're made for that kind of space. And in our busy, cluttered world, it gets compromised.
And we don't know exactly with social media. You were talking about this and it really stuck in my brain, is like that our brains aren't meant to watch some of these, like when I'm scrolling on TikTok and you're seeing, explain what you were saying. It's so good.
Yes. Though our brains are not made for such disparate, short, quick information. It becomes a true cognitive overload. So to scroll and see a hilarious cat video and what your friend from high school had for lunch and some horrible tragedy across the globe, and then this business news headline, like, it's too much in any given sitting. We're not made for that. We're really not wired for so much heavy news coming from across the globe. We pretty much can handle what's in our lives, our families' lives, and in our village. And now we can get every headline from across the world, and it can be mentally burdensome. And I was coming to that realization before I developed my system for staying digitally organized. Back in 2016, my mom was not well. She was dying, and it was an election year. And I realized, I got to get off of social media. For my mental well-being, I needed to really pull back because the content was just so high energy, and I had enough drama in my own life. So I was already awakening to the fact that my brain doesn't feel good when I do this to it. So I had started that pullback, and then to reverse engineer how that helped me in understanding we're just not made to receive that kind of short, quick, disparate information. Another thing that we're missing that may result in anxiety is our brains are made for the story arc. We want a beginning, middle, and end to the story. And we live in a world of 15-second video clips.
Right.
Where you get like a punchline and then it goes on to the next thing. So I think of that and the value of just knowing that as you work with your clients and you're building a design arc, and from beginning, middle to end of a project, or how a space is going to look like. We need those connectivities that this world doesn't necessarily make much room for or let us nurture. So anytime we can give ourselves breathing room, it's going to serve us really well, personally and professionally.
Yeah, that sounds like something you would even tell your clients when they're feeling the overwhelm of being presented a project. And then also they're inundated too with photos, so many photos every day, and it gets overwhelming and they start to second guess themselves and start to second guess the designer because they don't know if they're making the right decision and they're anxious. So explaining to them this process and why doing it the way that the designer sets out to do it, the beginning, middle, and end, is going to serve them better for their own stress relief, their own lack of anxiety, that if they let go and just believe in the process, that would actually make the process easier for the client too. So some of this is like very relatable to how a designer can actually sell to their client and work them through that process.
That's fun. When I developed the system, it applies to everything, which is how I ended up doing life coaching, because these concepts are translatable and they're so beautiful. And all this social media, there's so much input. Where is your idea in that mix? When does inspiration become imitation? How do you reconnect and trust yourself or the professional you hired for your design project when all you're getting is everybody else's ideas and inputs? So stepping in front, not vilifying our social. I love the social media. I love my technology. I've worked from home since the year 2000. It's worked really well for me, but stepping in front and taking leadership of it is essential for it to keep working well.
Right.
It's only getting thicker and faster these days.
Absolutely. So what are some top tips besides the photos? What would you do? Would you say is the first step that you work with your clients on to manage this?
And these are not revelatory. What I'm going to share, you'll be like, of course. But anytime I've had, not a ton of times, but like when I speak on this topic, I had one lady in particular. Of course, I remember the one lady who was like, I've heard all of those before. And I was like, but are you doing any of them? As I share these, just receive them and hopefully receive that neuroscience, how our brains work, really substantiate what I'm about to share. So I've already mentioned, number one, turn off your phone notifications. Dear mercy in heaven, cease and desist now. When you're looking at your inbox and you are cluttered and overwhelmed, try the unsubscribe one at a time. I've had so many people, and I have done it myself, come to me and they want to get decluttered. So they do the deep dive and they think they have to clear an entire day and they're going to just clean out that inbox. That primes your brain to think this is going to be a very painful process. You're living your life. You're in your workaday world. You get an email that you no longer want to be subscribed to. Unsubscribe to that one and go on with your life. So again, take it in bite-sized pieces.
Irene, I was telling Now this last week, I do the same thing on Facebook for birthdays. Like I use birthdays as my tool to like, have I talked to them in 5 years? Do they talk to me in 5 years? Maybe birthdays are a good way to be like, unfriend.
Yeah. Without you.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I remember that last thing you said. I didn't like it.
And there is no rule you get to stay in my circle.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
Yes. Whatever prompts you in the moment.
It's not doing it all at once. You're not trying to sit there and go unfriend. But you can be like, okay, this person, we never really connected. Because that happens. We Facebook friend people that we probably shouldn't be Facebook friending. And
yes,
get rid of it.
Totally.
You don't need it. So
you're fine.
Yeah. And honestly, people probably unfriend me too. I never even noticed. So
absolutely. Godspeed.
Yeah.
I get it. No harm, no foul. Yes. But taking any of this one by one is going to be very merciful and doable. And then another thing, and maybe you guys can relate even in your physical spaces and lives, but don't over organize. Back in the day when I would proclaim I was going to get digitally organized, I would enhance my file system and make new folders for every little detail. And did that work? Could I ever find anything? No. So just think big bucket and keep it really simple. But before you start your decluttering, make sure those big bucket folders are waiting for you. And maybe, Niall, I will go back to your palettes that you presented. Maybe it's just one folder that, again, is just like
Mm.
past palette ideas and
Yeah.
plunk everything in there. Don't get color specific or theme specific. Just plop them on over. And I promise they're there if you need them.
It might be actually a good idea to, like, in your photos or in your emails, just take a look at the last maybe month and say, try to write down as broad file folders as you can for that month. Like, it could be past color palettes. It could be furniture I love. It could be memes for me, or graphics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something you're going to go through, and family photos, obviously, family photos.
Yes.
So whatever you have in there, try to, as you're looking at your email, as you're looking at your photos, try to make those buckets, write down a list.
Yes.
And maybe even if you got rid of like 80% of everything into those buckets, then
Then you
can look at the other 20 after that. And that could be like,
Totally.
okay, maybe this is junk. Maybe I really don't need it.
Absolutely. And once you tune in how you organize things, you have your own nomenclature. You may not be awake to it, but in this process, like for me, at the start of every new year, I did 2024 memories. And for whatever reason, throughout my time keeping digital files, I call it memories, not family photos. I use the term memories. So if I'm searching in my digital files, if a folder is named with a year in memories, I know whatever happened in that year is going to be in that folder. So that was my own terminology. It makes sense to me, and that's what I use.
That's great.
And because it's for me, it's for my access. So I love that. Yes. Just take an intelligent look at, how do I talk to myself? How do I naturally organize, and go with that? And if you have a team, maybe they have to learn your nomenclature because you're the boss, and that's how it works. So
That's good too. That's really good too. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it works for you. You're leading, and then everybody can follow suit. And in their own worlds, if they have different terms, they can rock that out. But it's your ship. So yeah, so those big buckets. And then a really good tip, if you're finding you're scrolling the socials too much, is to pull back on your activity. These apps are made to ping. It's called your dopamine reward system. That's the neurochemical of reward. And it's motivation. It's not satisfaction. So when you get a like on a post, that sparks your dopamine reward system, again, that neurochemical that makes you want more. It's not, I'm good. I can go shut down this app and move on with my life. So by simply pulling back, you're inviting less of that activity, and ultimately you'll position yourself to be able to regulate your activity better. So Lori and I have been friends and interacted online for a long time. And I would presume if you were paying any kind of attention, you might go, I see less of Irene on the Facebook in the last 4 years. And that would be why, because that's me not wanting to invite unnecessary activity and to do it on my terms. So just pull back, minimize. You don't have to comment on everything. You don't have to post everything. Do it with thoughtfulness and strategy. And then
Wait, so say that again?
Yes.
That was really good. You said, so it's reward. Wait, dopamine it's reward.
Dopamine is the molecule of more.
Yeah.
So you eat a chip, you want another chip. You get a like on an Instagram post, you hope for another. So dopamine was made for us to want to seek out things that are pleasurable and rewarding, typically to keep our species alive and to get us to find good food. But in modern times, in so much abundance, we are like inundated, and your dopamine is pinging all the time at unhealthy levels, actually. So when you know that, you can step in front of it and go, I want to get the reward on my terms. So if you think you're in that zone where you post something on Instagram and then you're going to check it 15 times in the next hour to see who saw it, just don't post. If that's really not going to move your business forward, and it was maybe just because you liked what you were posting and you wanted other people to see it, maybe choose not to do that. And then as you regulate your activity, I promise you will get to a place where those pings and dings are less vital to you, and you will be able to post on your own terms more peacefully in a way that you can manage. It's not dominating you throughout the day.
I
I
will
like
say
that.
too that Facebook,
It's reward, not
it's not
satisfaction. I
a
like that.
wonder, it's
Yeah.
not really great, but it does have a free scheduling tool for Instagram and Facebook business pages. So it's better sometimes to do it that way so that you're not on the app
Yes.
yourself waiting for those responses. You can just schedule for the month
Mm.
all of your posts, your stories. I usually recommend I don't know what you did when you were managing, but for designers, I usually recommend 5 days a week posting. And I would say we usually try to have them take Tuesdays and Thursdays off because the weekends are the most popular where people are on social more. And you can use free, like I said, Creator Studio is free. You can just search it up. It's a Facebook Creator Studio, and it takes about an hour. I've tested this a whole bunch of different times. It takes about an hour to schedule for the month.
Yes.
So
And
if you
thanks
have,
for mentioning that. Yeah.
yeah. So if you
Because
have like a Google Drive folder with all of your portfolio images, you can just literally pull that into, it just links with the Creator Studio, and you can just grab this photo, schedule those all out. And then that's all done. Like all your portfolio work is done, and you can go in as you whenever you want if you're feeling your outfit for the day or whatever, like whatever
Right.
that looks like. And it's more like your personality. And
Yes.
so, that's
You can
what
fill
I
in that blank.
always
Yes.
recommend is like, just do this is my business stuff done. That layer is done. And then you're inserting personality. Then you're in the day-to-day, you can insert personality if you want to.
And that is for any of this for business, absolutely a scheduling tool is a great time saver and a relief so that you're not physically in those apps because they are designed to keep you there a while. So yes, so that and
Creator Studio
obviously-
doesn't have any dopamine fun. It's terrible. It's not fun
Exactly.
looking at all.
And should there be any interest, or you probably could address this at any point to the community, but there are many scheduling tools. Some,
absolutely.
have,
This one's
you know,
just free. So it's free. It's not great. They do have a calendar view, which is, I find, the easiest way so that you don't miss like the wrong day, or you can move things around. But I think it only lets you post, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks out. So it's not like I don't even think it's a full month, but it's close.
And I will say, you don't want to post too far out because news stories may break, and it seems insensitive to post something beautiful when something weird's happening in the world. Those kinds of things.
Yep.
I've learned in all my years of client work to maybe go 2-3 weeks out and leave some space. And then sometimes the technology would go wonky and all we had scheduled would go away anyway, which was always a heartbreak.
I know it
Oh,
happens to me. It
technology.
happens to me.
Embarrassing it. We need it.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 more little tips
Yep,
here.
yep.
Think cloud first for your storage. Consider moving from device to cloud with app access. Again, and that's to respect the capacity of your devices, and also because you do use your device all the live long day, at least as you're touching it, it's not thick with files and photos and all those kinds of things. I say consider because I acknowledge, especially this kind of audience, you have a system. If something is working beautifully, I would never ask you to arbitrarily cease doing what already goes well on your behalf. But if you are in a point of transition, consider that cloud first. Because again, these days, we've got really solid mobile apps. You can be out and about as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection. You're going to be able to get what you might need to share with a client or a friend or family member for that matter. I use that. So just bear that in mind, and it makes it really easy to share. And then again, I know what I'm about to say. It's not going to rock your world, but please receive it as something to apply actively. Is go for the most simple communication form first. If it should be a text, if it should be an email or a Zoom meeting or whatever, escalate only as needed. Keep things very simple. I know sometimes in professional life, we feel like we have to dial it up a notch, and we might not need to. So again, I know that's a no-brainer, but very often those low-hanging fruits get missed because we feel
I've
like
actually never heard that. So that's actually really good.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all heard that, like, this meeting could have been an email. Right?
Yeah, well,
There's that. Yeah.
There's that.
yeah,
Yeah. Always start with the most simple solution first
Yeah.
in anything in life.
yeah.
Having a bad day, get a glass of water. That may be all you needed. Don't psychoanalyze unnecessarily.
Oh,
That
that's
kind of
good.
thing.
That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, Irene. I feel like all of your tips are not just about the digital decluttering, but it's also about anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
mood management too. And
Yes.
that was unexpected when I first talked to you about that. I was thinking more of, okay, I just want, and I think we think of digital declutter as like a one and done, like we'll have to do that every year. We'll do that and then it'll it'll get bad again. And then we'll do it again and then we'll get bad. But you're thinking in terms of managing it or organizing how it comes in and how it processes so that you are able to free up your mental headspace. And I think that is brilliant.
It's this was the first step on what the path. It just like I emote when you say that because it took me beyond just the functionality of getting digitally, socially, mobily organized and into my true love is the kind of coaching where what area of your life do you need to declutter so that you can get back in touch with you and find what sparks you, what delights you. We get so cluttered in so many ways in our lives, and it creates an unforeseen barrier between the stuff that really brings us to life. And the world needs people who are alive and doing things that they enjoy and that they value. And so I didn't know that cleaning out my inboxes would a few years later awaken me to the idea that I didn't want to do digital marketing anymore and that I had other things that inspired me and that I felt I could create a business and a path and that really connected with more of who I am. Who would have ever known that one thing was going to open up so much more? So for the beautiful brains that are part of this community and these wonderfully creative humans, if you could just pause long enough to grant yourself the grace of decluttering whatever it is to get back in touch with maybe why you got into design in the first place. Wouldn't that be awesome? What a gift that would be. So that's, yeah, it
I
goes
love
way
it.
beyond.
I
Oh my
knew Dial
gosh.
would love this one. That's
It's funny because I'm having one of the worst days ever. And I said, I need a therapist before we got on. And so this has been a gift. This has been a gift because everything that you've said has resonated super deeply. And it more than, and I don't want to keep talking because then I'll start crying, but more than so, it's been such a gift. It's just been such a gift. It really, really
it's an
has.
emotional thing
Yeah.
too, to let
Yeah.
things go
Yeah.
is, I think we
Yeah.
all have that little tiny hoarder inside of us.
Yeah.
We don't want to necessarily let things go. My husband and I are in the process of like, we may become empty nesters soon. Like our kids are getting older and they're thinking of different things they want to do. And in that journey, we've been thinking we will downsize our house because we have a big, huge house. And so we've been thinking, what does the next chapter look like? And the idea of it, and we're thinking this is a year, 2 years away, but we're already like, our house is so big. We have so much stuff, like just stuff.
Yes.
And this is not digital. This is actual.
This was the
That I
actual
think about
meeting.
just the
Yes.
idea of thinking of decluttering. My mom passed away too. All my mom's stuff is downstairs. My grandmother, I have my grandmother's stuff that's downstairs too. I have my mom's china, my grandmother's china, our dishes from different sets of dishes I've got so many sets of dishes. I don't know how to describe to you how many sets of dishes I have.
Oh, yeah.
How many sets of silverware I have. It's just, I just had how many small appliances I own that I use. I got into juicing and then I stopped juicing and then I got into bread
Yes.
making and I stopped bread making and all of these things that I own. And I want to try to like get rid of some of this before it becomes so
Yes.
overwhelming.
So because I've worked from home for so long, I actually geek out on the topic of everything you're talking, the physical space staying decluttered because I early on realized I work from home and I live here. And if I don't keep it in check, I'll never have an escape. So
Okay.
I had a journey of processing that for myself and got pretty darn good at it. And so it's cool when the parallels happen between digital or clutter or relationship clutter or food clutter or work clutter. There are so many parallels. So that's what I'm saying. Start with digital clutter, but maybe it's your food intake. Maybe it's your relationships and you need to delete some friends off your Facebook list. Like what, just remove one thing and you'll do it well, thoughtfully, as I'm describing, hopefully here today. And those skills will translate and you'll see a beautiful domino effect of things opening up. So Lori, everything we've talked about today could maybe help you as you look at
It does. I've been thinking about it myself I think about it a lot. I mean, what this next year is going to be. And I know we're going to have a huge yard sale. So but that's already in my mind.
Yes.
And we're going to do a lot of like little I'm actually really good at letting things go. That's one thing I'm happy to know about myself. I've got that in my back pocket, but I'm one of those people, like if I haven't used that in the last 2 years, I don't need to use that. And I'm
Sure.
okay with letting it go. I don't need to keep something, but the family stuff was tough for me. It's taken me
Right.
to get to this point that we lost a child to suicide in 2016. And like all of his things are in the basement as well. My mom's things, my mom passed away the year earlier than that. So it's just like I have all of these things that I can't let anybody touch it, that kind of thing. I can't look at it myself either because it took me a long time to be able to get to the point where I could even think about looking at it. And I've decided I'm going to take the clothes and I'm going to have quilts made for the kids with the
Which
clothes.
is really cool.
Great.
Yeah.
And I'm just the rest of the stuff, we're just gonna let the kids have what they want and it's gonna go. Cause it I don't need to move it with me wherever I need.
Absolutely. And
You know?
yes, I've been through loss myself and how to manage a parent's things after they're gone. And just that idea of how we attach emotion to things and assign meaning to things. And that's something that I can coach on. I don't have your answers. Everybody may want to keep all their things or not, but just you want to do so consciously and not just have them pile up and never deal with it.
I remember talking to some woman who was in one of the support groups that I was in, and I knew I was doing better than she was. I know this sounds bad, but I was doing better than she was because she had a child who also passed away from suicide, and she still kept the apartment that her son had lived in. He was an older kid, and she kept the apartment for 8 years and would spend her weekends there. And I was like, I knew I didn't want to do things like that. They tell you like people shrine or they get rid of everything. And I tried to do as healthy as possible about everything. But it's hard in those moments to let things go. And I remember like crying and being mad at one of my kids for wearing one of his shirts, because they loaned it out to a girlfriend. And I was like, you can't loan it out.
Right.
Yeah.
It was so
It's a journey with any of these kinds of things.
Yeah, I think it's like digital or physical. There's like that emotional attachment we have to stuff. But then we have to remember at the end of the day, what of this really is truly, are we going to Marie Kondo everything? It's this rainy joy. I don't know.
Yeah. And that can be a very arbitrary discussion. I'm all for whatever helps someone get their clutter in order. That assigning of joy, that can be mood dependent on any given day. And again, whatever kind of clutter it is, just awakening to know that you can lead yourself and to remove any kind of moralizing about it or self-judgment. We're as human beings, we assign meaning because we want to make sense of the world. And when there's been something sad, of course, those emotions run deep. So that is part of being human. So allowing that and then inviting a process that works for you is very liberating and kind.
It's also opening yourself up for new too. So if you're getting rid of the old, you have more room in your brain and your home or whatever for new things, new experiences, new hobbies, whatever that might
Yes.
be. And
And
what
that's
have you done
beautiful.
now? Like some fun things. What have you done with all this time you've gotten back? What are you doing?
I exited my business. I am getting to create what I want to create on my terms. We updated our home last year, and I was so peaceful about all the things that I let go because I was so excited for what's new. It was such a symbolic, literal process, like what we're talking now. Like, I live a very different life. It's fascinating, you guys. I'm still me. I still bring all my core talents and my personality and everything, but I'm on a path that I very consciously have chosen for myself. And I fully acknowledge I'm so blessed I have the room to do it. So I use that time to study. If you can't tell, I'm a neuroscience geek. I had time to study that and get a certification in coaching in neuroscience and trauma-informed coaching. And just some days I just read stuff I want to read and I'm just peaceful. What? When did that ever happen before?
Nice.
I love that. I love a good book.
Nice.
I'm a book
Yeah.
nerd too, so I
Well,
love to read
like,
audios
there-
and physical books. I'm
Oh.
like, I read all the time.
I'm in perpetual knowledge acquisition mode these days. And actually, I love it so much. I intentionally choose what I input because I don't want to clutter my mind. So I focus on some stuff that I curate it very well. But yeah, when I first decluttered digitally, there was one afternoon I can just picture I was sitting over there and I was like, I'm done with everything I have to get done today. I'm just going to sit. Like I had never, it had been ages since to just literally sit and be and just be with my thoughts for a little bit. I was like, I'm on a different path. It was fascinating to feel that expansive space. So I know some people like to have their hours filled. I happen to be natured in such a way that I do well to have my creative flow and create margin in my life. And so just my journey has really that I feel very blessed that I'm able to do that in this season.
I love that. And I
I do
really
too.
resonated with me too about the part about what you allow in, because I really believe in that. I think that we think about in moments of anxiety or depression, or I have had to learn a lot about this since what happened in our family, because our other kids were also impacted and we were impacted, and we learned a lot about situational depression and chronic depression and anxiety disorders. And it is really important especially when you're going through really hard times, to be vigilant about what you're allowing into your brain. Really, like, it comes to like music. If you're listening to sad music when you're already sad, like that's not a good idea. If you're listening to
You're compounding.
yeah, absolutely. And if you're reading a sad book, or you're watching a movie that has a lot of trauma in it, when you're experiencing those modes, you have to really protect your peace in those moments, and put those boundaries up around yourself so that you're not exposing yourself to worse pain than you're already in. You need to
Absolutely.
heal. It's like being physically ill and you need to take medicine, you need rest. It's the same thing for your brain when you're going through those moments. And everybody has it. Like, people think of mental health as, oh, that person's crazy or whatever, but it's really, we all have mental health. And we all have a spectrum of mental health. Some days are better than others. And when things are not going well, those are the days we need to really be careful about what we are letting come in to our little brain world. So, yeah.
Unsubscribe from the True Crime
Unsubscribe.
podcast. Maybe you don't need that right now.
Yeah, maybe you don't. And I don't want to, I know murder can be fun, but maybe not on the day
of anxiety that might be there.
You're already anxious. So
be aware, yes, of what you're allowing in. And that, I will also say, after I decluttered and started on this new path, my tastes changed. I was a true crime podcast listener, and now I look back and I'm like, who was that girl? Not that I never listened, but I opt for things that are more generative for me personally. I am not making any statement wrong or indifferent about the kinds of podcasts, but my taste and what I desired really significantly changed. More time in nature, more intentionality about like sun exposure, just because that good old vitamin D. And that was before we talked about it in the pandemic. This all happened before all that. I just found myself wanting better quality in general. Very interesting outcome from simply getting my digital life in order.
It is
Would have never
crazy.
thought.
I really was thinking that this is all came because you liked a post of mine about this. We were talking about how Prince had said this, that we have to be careful what we watch. And I was like, wow, I hadn't seen you in a while. And so I immediately messaged under there, we need to talk. We
Yes.
haven't talked in a long
Yes.
time. And it was such
See,
a
I
great
thoughtfully
conversation.
liked that because I was like, that's one of my favorite topics. Be careful what you get in.
Exactly. And that's how it all we're like, okay, you have to be on the podcast. You have to teach this to our lovely community. So I'm glad that you came. I'm so grateful. It was exactly what I think a lot of people need to hear right now. And that it's
Yeah.
manageable. Even if you take those small bites, I think that's the one thing people need to take away from this is you don't have to think of this as something you have to do all of it tomorrow. You can just
Please don't. Yes.
like literally
Train
this-
yourself to know it's a peaceful, helpful process. It is not a burden. It's getting you to a place of being unburdened. So
Yes.
very much worth your while.
I love that. Thank you so much, Irene. This has been such a pleasure. And I hope
It's
you
been a
subscribe to our
blast, too.
podcast or videos and
Smile, it
watch
was
us on
great to
Interior
meet
Design
you.
Community.
It was nice
Yes.
meeting you too. This is
Yes.
awesome.